Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna just pin this to the top. Okay. And volume. Alrighty. Hi, Amy and Mickey and Kelly, Penny. Good morning. Hope you all are well today. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Marlene. Just gonna move these couple things out of the way. So I got out a die set that I purchased I think it was last Halloween. And I'm gonna just triple check because I'm fairly certain it is still available, but I remember it coordinated with a pretty set of dies after it went through the Halloween set of dies. But now that I think about it, hopefully it's still current. So just as a whole nother side, we're going to be using the Expressions in Ink DSP, which is really, really pretty. It has a lot of gold foiling, as you can see on it. And then some of the pieces, I'll be honest, like this one is gold foiled. It's not my fave. Probably would work with a nice color. And then a couple of, so there's these two patterns, which have some gold foiling. They're not my favorite. So they have other beautiful sides. So we'll, I'll probably switch for those. And then the one that's got the lines looks like this on the other side. Thanks, Donna, for sharing that. Thank you all for joining me. Hi, Diane. Hi, Janet. So those can be found. That is a whole beautiful suite. And I didn't get the whole suite. I just did it as part of the DSP share. So here we go. This starts on page 96. This is the Expressions in Ink suite. And it's a lot of very pretty watercolor. So the images are going to be really, really soft. Again, I don't own the dies and I did not buy the stamp set. However, I thought it would be really pretty to be able to use this DSP because I do have several people who bought shares through me. And maybe if you didn't necessarily buy the dies or the stamps, you might be like, what am I going to do with this stuff? So I thought we could do that. I think it also would coordinate really well with the color and contour bundle, which that's on the following page. And what was the other thing? Oh, I wanted to look for those dies. Hold on, I'll tell you what they are. Make sure they're still in here. I'm 99% sure they are. Yes. So these Ornate Frames, if you remember, and I'll show you what they look like here. If you remember, these were originally part of the Halloween suite last year. And then in the spring, they brought them over to a springy photopolymer stamp set. And I'm not sure, I'm going to look because I don't know what they coordinate with. It's not even saying what they coordinate with, which is weird. So I'm guessing they didn't use it with anything specific in the catalog, but they're very pretty because they're really frilly, which kind of makes them nice to be able to jazz up a plain background, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do, I just forgot, I realized I didn't pull this piece of paper, so I'm just going to flip this to the other side. That way when we flip down, it's all clean for you. So anyway, we have this Expressions in Ink. Again, I don't have the stamp set or the dies. We're just using the DSP, but I did pull out a few dies and a few other things that are going to be coming back, and one of them that's still here. So I have my dies, I have my DSP, and then I grabbed some nice sentiments. Oh, Penny, are you kidding me? It's on back order. Wow. Well, if you already have this paper, you can use it. If not, see, I never look at that list before I go on live. So, oopsie. But thanks for telling me, Penny. So just so you know, it's on back order. I'll have to check and see when it goes back again. But I also grabbed Inspired Thoughts because I thought that would be like a nice simple sentiment wise because it's very clean. Bamboo Beauty would be nice if we could fit that in. We'll have to take a look. Color and Contour, I grabbed those sentiments. And then the other one I have is Lighthearted Lines and After the Storm. So those are the stamp sets that I grabbed. And I kind of thought we could fool around. So I'm going to go ahead. You have the DSP, the bundles coming Monday. Well, there you go. You're halfway there. I'm going to flip you guys over. And if you get a little nauseated, just look away for a minute. There we go. Let me just move a few of these things back. So what I kind of thought, and it really just came to me, something else we could do with this. So I have this paper, and it's very, very pretty. So I'm going to leave this paper out. So you're going to kind of design this. It's going to be very bold coloring. Now, the nice part about, and I grabbed a couple other things just to prep for this, so just FYI. The nice thing about this is you do have, and if you purchased a DSP share from me, I do always label this, but they do label all the colors that go with the paper. Now, obviously, Whisper White, usually you can use it with black. Sometimes you can use it with white versus vanilla, so just kind of keep that in mind. And I'm sure you'll probably find other colors that coordinate with it. But just as an FYI, they do put them in alphabetical order. So this one is Evening Evergreen, Just Jade, Magenta Madness, Mint Macaron, Pale Papaya, Pear Pizzazz, Polished Pink, Shaded Spruce, and then Whisper White. Obviously, you can always use it with black or probably even gray. So that is the great part about the DSPs. And again, when you purchase a share from me, I do put a label on the front and I type all that up, the price, if you would like to reorder it, the reorder number, all that kind of stuff. So what I thought is, and this one was kind of one that came to mind, but you probably honestly could use it with this too. It would be really, really pretty. So I'm going to show you what I already die cut just as a getting started spot. So we have these beautiful ornate dies, and they're really, really pretty. And then you also have a piece that you can cut for the inside label. So if you wanted to stamp something on this, and then you could die cut this and pop it up. So the first one I did was the brushed foil. And you can see when, this is just as a preview, because I figured I'd at least do one ahead of time. But what I did is I put the adhesive sheet onto the back of it. And when you pull this out, a lot of the inside had pieces. There's still a couple teeny pieces in there. So it's really nice because it pulls a lot of the extra stuff out. There's one piece left here, so that's pretty good. And the reason I do this is because it's a very intricate die, especially on the edges. So I think that the adhesive sheet really, really helps these. So what we're going to do is we're going to stamp a sentiment on here. Only thing I have to do is see what fits. And I think this one might be kind of, these are just kind of going to be like everyday cards. So I'm going to pull, just because I'm not exactly sure where this one mounts. So I'm just going to do this one. In case you've never done this before, you can take your stamp, and I usually just peel the backing and I kind of line it up when I have it on here. These are with the newer stickers. And then you peel it off, and then you want to either stick it to the front or the back of your hand to take a little bit of the sticky off. But so we have that, and I want to see if it fits. You all will be so proud of me. I completely cleaned my desk off last night after I finished crafting. Oh, that's going to fit beautifully. I cleaned everything up. I was quite proud of my own self, as a matter of fact. And typically I've been using thick white cardstock. I really only use basic white that's not thick on the insides anymore. So honestly, I've kind of gotten to the point where I've stopped buying the regular white because I do like the thick white so much better. So just as a tip, it kind of, I guess, depends on what it is that you want to do. So they did say that Evening Evergreen goes with this, as well as Just Jade and Shaded Spruce. I think I want to look at Shaded Spruce. I'm not sure how well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Shaded Spruce. And I think Evening Evergreen would be just a bit too dark. Let me take a look at Just Jade. I think is too green. I think Just Jade more coordinates with, pardon my iPad, with this one. So I'm going to save the Just Jade for this. And I think I'm going to go with the shaded spruce. So what I'm going to do is just ink up. I've never used this stamp before. So I'm going to ink it and just make sure it looks nice. And then obviously I don't need a whole lot of space to die cut this. So what I'm going to do is just stamp it kind of relatively in a area that's close to the top. Okay, so there's that. And then what I'm going to do is run this through. I'm going to try to kind of make it straight. So I'm going to look. That looks pretty good. I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. And I do have a couple tips for you when you die cut with the foil. So that brushed foil will be returning. It is coming back again in the holiday catalog, but I'm sure if you're like me, you probably already have some, but it's great for those people who don't. So there's that. And then what I'm going to do, just in addition, is I'm going to go over this edge with a lighter green. So I'm going to go with Garden Green just because I think it's kind of in the same tone of greens. So I'm just going to grab my Garden Green marker. You could also do this with sponge if you still have your sponges, which I'm sure everybody does, so don't fib. We know we all have our sponges. You could do this with your brayer. You could even, oh, you know what a cute idea? I'm going to wait till the ink dries a little bit though. You could even do a little bit of blending brush over top of this. And I'll show you what I mean. So we have that. And just to kind of give like a little bit of a lightness to this, I think with sticking again with similar granite, I know we're like darker spruce, evergreen really isn't going to fit in there. And then the other one I had was Garden Green. I'm going to just take the Pear Pizzazz. I'll show you what I mean. And I'm going to take, oh, that's what I forgot to add to my order. Darn it, I didn't add my blending brushes yesterday. Free shipping, and that's what I forgot. Oh, well. So I'm just brushing this off just a little bit. I'm going to take a little teeny bit of Pear Pizzazz. Just a little bit. And just kind of to take a little bit of that whiteness off. Just go over the edge, just a smidge. I'm not really going over the whole thing. I'm just going to go over it just a little bit on each end. So it really just took a little bit of that lightness off. Another thing you could do is you could add this over a piece of watercolored paper. So I did bring a bowl of water, so we can always dip that in. So there is that. And the only thing we have to do is cut this down and decide what we're going to do for a base. So we can stick with the shaded spruce, which would be really pretty. We could add a gold layer behind it if we wanted to. We could also do it on white. Sometimes I feel like these kind of get lost if you're doing tone to tone. So I'm actually going to back it onto thick white, which has kind of been, I guess in the past couple days, my go-to. Shh, shh, shh. 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 Lay down and relax. So I'm going to trim this. I'm going to go ahead and cut this, or I'm sorry, score it first. I'm going to score it in half at 4 1/4. And then I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2. Thank you, everyone. I see a lot of people saying they're sharing. Thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate it. And then all we have to do is just trim this off. So again, I did say this is going to be a pretty simple card. It's nothing terrifically complicated. I'm going to go with 5 1/4. I'll take this piece off. And we can always even add a little piece of this to the inside just to kind of finish the theme. So we have that. I picked a different one. You probably could have picked more the brushed gold. I think I picked the champagne, but it's fine. It's going to be okay no matter what. And I'm going to put dimensionals on this. So just trying to make this kind of simple. Maybe this is a die set that you purchased, and I can tell you I haven't used this in quite some time. entirely too long, probably. Put this just here. It lines up almost exactly. If you're worried about lining it up or getting it lined up a little bit, another thing you can do is, does Christian love Jack? Yes, he does. He really is just so over the moon happy. He says prayers every night and he just thanks God that we have Jack. So it's so sweet. I think the only thing is everyone in the house would probably appreciate if Jack didn't quite love me as much as he did, because he follows me around like I'm his mother. It's kind of crazy. There we go. I think that's a little bit. The nice part though, if you put the dimensionals and then the glue, you can see that was really easy to pick back up. So I don't want to touch this too much because I don't want to smear. I'm just going to give it a little press just to make sure. Now you can put this on dimensionals. Obviously these kind of two sides don't really go super duper well together, because the other thing you could do is, and we could try this with another piece, is die cut a rectangle and flip it, and then you could inlay it. But I'm going to just glue this down directly. It's your favorite sweet. It is very, very pretty. I really do love it. It's really, really nice. I think the nice part about it too is that it gives you the ability, if you feel like, and I think everybody says this, that they're not creative. I can't do that. I think you can be creative, first of all, if you try. But also, I think this makes you feel like you're more creative because it's very forgiving with the watercolor imaging. Okay, so there's that. And I might turn this sideways. Yep, I'm going to do that. Now, because I have that adhesive sheet, all I have to do is peel this off. You can see there was that one other little piece that fell out. And there's another piece here. Here's a little piece. Oh, fabulous. Now my cards are going to have dog hair. I can see I'm already collecting dog hairs. That took not long. I'm going to grab this little piece out here. Who am I kidding? I knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time. Okay. So I got almost, I think, everything out. So you can see how intricate that die is. It's really got a lot of detail to it. And then I'm going to just place this here. And I will show you exactly how I did that, because I just used some pieces. Perfect. So that's really very, I don't want to say simple, because you did have to apply the adhesive, but it looks super fancy with really very, very minimal effort, right? You could even die cut this if you wanted to and have like a little fancy background. Now, I don't know if I would want to cover that up, but you could if you wanted to. And then on the inside here, we could just put, oh, here's a little piece stuck. We could put this here. And you have been on my mind. I'm trying to think what else would go. You could add something else, I'm sure, with another stamp set, but just thinking about that, you could also write a note. But I'm going to just put this little piece in. And I'm a right-hander, so I usually write kind of center to right. But the other thing is, with me with cards, which is kind of funny, because when I finish cards on the inside, I get a little carried away sometimes, because I'm kind of one of those people that starts writing something and ends up writing an entire paragraph because I think about the person when I write and just add stuff to it. So that's super pretty. Really, really nice card. So again, that used that piece, and then we used the sentiment from After the Storm. So there's one. I'm going to try to use something different when we go to the other stuff. That way I'm not using the same stamp set for everything. Where did I put my, oops. I even cleaned out here, like above my desk. So I'm just was looking and I'm like, where did I put that? Because I put it somewhere different. And you know, muscle memory rules. So you move something, you confuse yourself. I'm going to pull this one off and put this back in. And so I also have this one, but since we did a green already, and I will finish that one, let's do something a little bit brighter. So we have this pink one, which is super pretty. We also have, now this other side, the orange, doesn't have any gold in it, but it really is equally as beautiful. So let's try that other technique I was telling you about. We'll do orange, we'll do a pink, and then we'll do this light green one. So I'm going to keep these out for now. Oops, I forgot. I already had this one out. We'll move this over. So for this, what I'm going to do is I am going to cut this ahead of time just so I know what I'm dealing with. So you have your stitched rectangles, and this is pretty much anything that has the layering dies that line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down because I want to make sure I don't go too large. I'm going to cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go a little bit less. I'm going to go to 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, now when you do this, the only thing is you have to kind of take your time to line it up and tape. So I have my purple tape. So you're going to find your die, which this one here is most likely the actual layer. Yep. So I'm going to go and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do because we're not going to do this exactly. So I have these pieces. I'm just kind of doing my best, and I'm going to go in one more because I want the big piece, and I'm just trying to make sure that they kind of are lined up evenly, and I must have some glue on my finger. Let's see. That looks pretty good. Now, all I really want to do is die cut the middle one. Do I want the middle one? Let me just look for a second. I'm gluing this, taping this down, but I want to see how big of a frame I want. Maybe I want the second one. Hold on. Let me take a peek here. I think I'm actually going to go with the second one. So I'm going to pull this off. And I'm holding this down with my finger to make sure it looks pretty even. And I'm going to run this through my die cut machine just like that. Okay, and this will make sense in a minute. Hopefully, as long as it turns out the way I'm intending it to turn out. So I'm going to put this on my die cutting machine. Now, when you have anything that has a straight line, like a straight line die that was in the stitched nested labels or a rectangle, you don't want to go straight through because it does put a lot of pressure. So just kind of turn it just a little bit to the side. And then I'm going to put this on and die cut it. This dog is laying over here on a stack of paper. It's crazy. All right, and I'll pull this off. So then what we can do is we can take this and we could flip it one way or the other. And I don't really know that I like that. I just don't like those gold stripes. I don't know why. Isn't that terrible? It's not that they bother me that much. It's just something about them. It's just like it's a little bit much. Let me see. Is there any other that would be pretty to frame it out with? That'd be a little bit too much, I think, with the orange. You know, I don't know. Maybe it is somebody's thing that they like it. This would be pretty too. You could frame that and then stamp on it. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to use this outside portion, and I'm going to save this for something different. And then I'm going to use this because I like it. Lines up. Just like that. And I'm actually going to just put this up in the corner because I'm not really concerned with where it exactly matches. I'm going to go with this corner. So I have a little bit of orange and a little bit of pink. And here's the one thing. When you're not wanting to cut your DSP, you're kind of at a little bit of a halt because you can't really tilt this without ripping your paper. So I am going to put this one in straight like this. Oh, Jack, what are you doing? You're covering yourself in papers. Stop it, you silly. He's just looking at me like, what? Yes, I did I did some free shipping. Of course, I remember now I forgot a couple things, but oh well. That's why they have next orders, right? So I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to fit it in to this. And what we're going to do instead of what I originally was going to do, because I think these go together a little bit nicer, is I'm actually going to just stamp something onto there. So kind of a long way around the barn of saying what I did. So we have this piece. I may end up just using a smaller piece than what I was going to use with the whole sheet, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to move this over. Sometimes you just got to switch it up, right? What you thought you were going to do. So the other thing is too, I've made these and you can see I've done lots of frames. So I just kind of keep them. This one should go in there. I just kind of keep them in this little card slot here. I have lots of frames. What I did at one point was I kind of spaced these out so they were very evenly spaced or correctly spaced, and I put them over a piece of cardstock and I just cut, and I have all these little frames that I could use if I wanted to, which I think is really super fun. So that's another thing that you can do with your dies, kind of layering them together. I think I am going to go with mango for this background. Oh, how do you like that? I even have a piece. I know it's a little bit bright, but we're also going to add, because I did cut that down a little bit, we're going to add a panel of black, which will kind of break it up just a smidge. So I'm going to go ahead. I do have to score this mango piece. I'll make sure it's 4 1/4. Yep, I have to score this, and then I have to trim that black, which this is super Halloween-y. Kind of ironic with those other dies that I had out. All right, so 4 by 5 1/4, and then we'll layer this on. So it's going to look really pretty. It's almost a little too bright. I wonder if papaya would work better. Hold on, I'm gonna take one step back here. I feel like papaya might work better. So I'm gonna take this one back. I'm gonna score this instead. Just like a tiny shade too bright, and this is definitely bigger than 4 1/4. This needs to be trimmed. Okay. All right, so here's this, and this. Let me move these pieces over. Now, this one was one where, again, we weren't going to really super duper fancy it up. You could always add in a little bit of a gold layer or something like that to kind of jazz it up. So instead, let's do this. I'm trying to put these on the side so I can remember I already used them. Let's do this. We'll do this one. And I'm going to get out one little thing that maybe you might kind of be, I won't say surprised by, but you might be like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to grab my gold embossing powder and Versamark. And I'm going to go ahead and crank my heat tool in the background real quick. All right, so I'm going to do this little flecky image thing here. We're just going to add a little bit of gold, and then we'll stamp our sentiment. Move these over. Trying to line it up better. So I'm just gonna ink it in Versamark and just add a couple little, and I'm just turning it, and one more kind of down here at the bottom. Okay. So essentially, if you don't have gold, you can add it. Now look, the whole other side has that beautiful gold on it, but that's okay. One other thing, if you ever notice that you go outside the lines, like for this one, I did just a teeny bit because I guess where I touched it, keep a little brush handy and you can kind of brush off whatever you don't want. Let me just put this back. And I'm gonna heat this. Since this is really hot, it should just take a second. And it goes from like a dusty look to shiny. That's how you know it's done. I'm going to kind of heat the back just to even it out a little bit. And I did, just thinking about this, I did have a customer the other day ask me if she was having trouble with embossing. Did I have any suggestions? I'm just going to flatten this out a little bit while I talk about this. Did I have any suggestions? And my main suggestion was, actually it's a couple things. First of all, your embossing powder, if it is older, it doesn't emboss as well. I don't know if it's just from heat, humidity, age, whatever the case may be. Maybe you accidentally heated some of it before and poured it back in. Sometimes it could be old embossing powder. Another thing could be if your Versamark is not inked enough. So you really want to, when you touch it, that you have ink on it. If not, ink it up. They do sell a refill for this. It's in the online store. So watermark refill there. And you can ink it very, very frequently. It can't really be too inked, I guess, if it was goopy. But the other thing is, and unfortunately we don't carry this any longer, the Embossing Buddy, but I'm sure you can find an embossing or a anti-static powder tool device somewhere. Mine was really, really old. As a matter of fact, it was probably 15 years old. So eventually they just don't de-static as much. So when I got a new one, it really, really improved. So I would suggest before you chuck your embossing powder, check your anti-static powder device. Make sure your Versamark is really well inked. You also want to make sure that your heat tool is actually still heating, because sometimes that could be the culprit as well. So just a couple tips. And let's do this one as a thank you for everything, which is right there. I'm going to grab a stamp. And I think I'm going to do this just to make it stand out in mango. Now, I don't know. Is this necessarily mango? I don't feel like I mentioned mango when we were talking about the colors, but it kind of looks like it would go with it. It says polished pink. So let's go with what they're saying. Polished pink. I don't think I've used that too much. And we're going to stamp our sentiment. I am going to test this first because I haven't used it, just to make sure it's inking well. Looks nice. Oops, I'm getting a little smudge there. Is that me? Nope, that was just the way I had it. All right, so I'm going to put that back. I'm going to just do right up here. Thank you for everything. There you go. Simple. One other thing you could do if you wanted to, you could pop some of this up on a dimensional, just an idea. You don't have to. So we're going to put this one together. We have all of our layers here. We could probably pop this up and run a little bit of ribbon somehow around it. So let's just take a look and see what this looks like. So we have this, because it's definitely going to need some glue because it is a little bit wonky from embossing. You could also run this through an embossing folder if you want to flatten it out a little bit. I feel like the whole get up needs a little lift to it. I don't know if I'd rather lift the inside or the frame. I think I'm going to do the frame. So I'm just going to grab these because they're handy. So I have these strips. Now, I will tell you one thing. When I use one, they tend to be not quite as thick. So I usually use them 2 at a time, which, I don't know, maybe some people think that's a little bit much. But so I'm actually going to put 2 on. And you want to make sure that you press enough that you're not curling it. And that should be just to the edge there that it fits. Yep, that looks good. Let me pull this little piece off. that one. Have another little smidgy piece here. Just using up the rest of what I have. So I will have one little solo strip. I'll leave that here and grab another one. I must have used those for little nips of something before. The only thing is you do not want to mix dimensionals and the strips and the adhesive sheets. And you could have totally avoided this if you wanted to use an adhesive sheet instead, because they are all not exactly the same height. And I did that one time. And I had things that were like, they were kind of half and half, which is not a good look when you're making a card. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this together. And I think I'm going to lay this in. Yeah, that's cute. You could always add a little bit of something. You know what? Let's try one thing. I wonder, you know, me and my favorite stuff over here. I wonder if this is too small to tie around. Just to kind of like fashion around the side. I'm not loving it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it off because I'm thinking it would be kind of cute if you added a little bit of a ribbon to it, but I don't know. You're going to rearrange your craft room? Your craft room is probably crying right now knowing that you're not there, right? All right, so I'm going to glue these things down before I put the panel, just in case I have to add a little something. Also, since I did emboss this, I'm going to do a little bit of Stampin' Seal Plus, and then I'll put a little bit of liquid glue, only because I really want to make sure that it stays down, and I can kind of lose that little wonk to it. Maybe flatten it out a little bit. So I'm going to put just a little, not a lot. Just a little bit of liquid, come on, there we go, adhesive on those couple pieces, just because it helps it to be a little bit more mobile. And then I'm going to grab this piece, kind of eyeball where I want it. Great thing is, since we didn't adhere this, if for some reason I were to glue it down upside down, we could still adjust, but we're going to go just like that. It looks pretty good. Just kind of piecing it in there. Okay. I'm going to give that a nice press. Fairly confident this ink is dry. And again, you could do the same thing. So when you pull your strips off, you could put the liquid, a little teeny bit of liquid glue on there if you like. This is the only part that's nice about if you use the long pieces. You don't have to pull off these 700 little minis, but I was trying to be thrifty. Oops, there's one. Okay, so same thing again. I'm just going to put a little bit just because I always fear that after I've gone through this much work, I like a little bit of insurance, as my grandfather would say when we played cards. All the cards, everything he picked up, he always had for, he would always say, insurance. Which was so funny. I certainly do miss that man. Every day. All right, that looks pretty good. Even though there's a little black rim around, that's okay. Because I'm kind of want, you know, you have like that little, like a picture frame look. And I did mess up a teeny piece here of the adhesive, so I'm just going to snip that off. So that looks pretty. Oh, you know what we could do? What about this? Darn it. Now, why don't they need to have that metallic mesh in silver? Because this will be cool. So tell me what you think. And if you think it's too much, we won't. But like, what if we just wrapped just like a little bit of this around? Just like so. Okay. Before I adhere, I am going to tie. I just love this ribbon so much. It's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to wait because I know there's a delay. Is it too much? I'm going to scroll here so I can see my comments of what people say. Is it too much? It is too much. It is or it isn't. Just let me know. Haven't cut it yet. We all need a little insurance. Oh, blackberry. Oh, I bet you blackberry bliss would look really pretty with that. By the way, I did order myself a pack of rich raspberry. Just FYI. I'll pull a piece out and you can see. Because the orange and the purple, I get where you're going with that. Ooh. Okay. I got no ribbon. All right, I'm cutting the ribbon. And I really do like that Blackberry Bliss suggestion. So I'm going to change again. Good thing we didn't glue it down yet. Linen thread would also be very pretty, especially if you had a slim enough amount of it that you could take some of the threads out, which I think sometimes makes it look a little bit cooler. All right, definitely going to need a piece of white in this for sure. So remember that. Only thing is it kind of loses the black. Oh, sequins or rhinestones. Man, you guys have some good ideas. I'm going to trim this off just a smidge. Just not hanging all over the place. Cute. Okay, I'm going to glue. You know what? I think I'm going to dimensional because that little piece, I'm afraid it's going to get a little bit wonky there. So I'm going to do some dimensionals. 3. 4. I think that's good. I don't want to, I'm not going to overdo it. Although at this point, that's okay. It is. But you know what? No biggie. Cindy, it still was a good idea. It would be a great idea to just do the Blackberry Bliss instead of the black. But it's okay. It would have probably been really pretty backed on Blackberry Bliss as well. So there you go. Really nice. So there's another one. Again, it definitely is going to need a white panel because unless you're writing in white marker, which I don't know if you could keep it inked quite that long, it is pretty. I do have a little gap here, but I'm going to have to get over that because I pieced those together and there's a little smidgy gap, but that's cute. So there's that one. That one was done with this. Hold on, let me just wipe this off really quickly because I'm going to put this away. Today is the last day of Vacation Bible School for the Rainbow Stamper. And at noon, we actually can go there and they're having lunch. So that's really cute. He was excited about that. So here are our 2 so far. Let's see what time it's 10. We can do one more card. So there's those 2. And I'll show you these at the end. So do we want to do the pink or do we want to do the green? I'll leave that up for a minute and you all see what they say. We have another thank you card we can do. What other sentiments do I have? Thank you. What was that? We had the bamboo. Oh, inspired thoughts might be pretty too. We could do one with that. Pink, green, pink, green. All right, where are we going? Pink, pink, pink. I see pink, pink, pink. We're doing pink. Okay. And I think I'm going to do just a very plain sentiment. So this one isn't going to cover the whole front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that little piece that we used from earlier. We actually die cut that stitched piece out of. So I don't know what we're going to do with this, but we're going to cut it to start. And let's see, where are we here? We're at 3, 2 3/4. 2 3/4 will do it. So 2 3/4 by, I'm going to go with 5.5 just because since we have a slimmer piece, I'm going to kind of go for the whole card. So let me see. That's a lot, so we're not going to do that. This is something where we kind of need to bring it down a notch. A little too dark with the evergreen. That's pretty, but almost a little too soft. Hold on one second. So we have pinks. How about crumb cake? Crumb cake might be a nice neutralizer. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna go with crumb cake. Crumb cake is almost always there to save the day. Let me see if this is quarter. Yes, I just have to, oh, it's already scored. How you like that? Even better. All right, so let's see what we're gonna do with this. I'm gonna do the same thing where earlier I did the die cut, because I want to show you guys what I did with that, and we're just gonna have to pick a different sentiment. So we have this. We have this. You can always add a little piece to the inside. Ooh, this side is really pretty too. Must have been just that piece I caught. Oh, that's a pretty side. Okay. Move these two. I'm gonna put this one back. And finally, so I have my die. Oh, what did I do with the other die? See, I bought this little die holder and I'm still not using it to its potential. So this one we have, and then we could use this inlay. So I think we're gonna do that. Let's see if we can fit something from this. I see we have Peace, Joy, Love. What is this one? It's just something about you make a difference every day. Let's see that one. Yep, it should fit. Okay, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we're gonna stamp this. I'll put this over here and with that. But I wanted to show you. Yep. All right, so I have my brushed foil. Again, this was from the holiday catalog and I carried over. I can't quite remember, but this is a gold piece. So this is just a piece I used for something. Can't remember what right now or what this was from, but it doesn't matter. It's not in there, but it will be coming back and you probably already have some. So I have that pack. And then what I'm going to do is grab my adhesive sheet. Oh, and I have a couple pieces here. So these are just a few pieces. Here is, oh, should have ordered some more of this too. Here's my last piece of adhesive sheet. I do have our prior Sizzix adhesive sheet, so worst case scenario, we did sell it once, so I'll have to use that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these little two strips up just to use them, and then I'll add some other stuff. So you have your foil, and we're going to see like this is about where it's going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off the backing. And I'm putting this sticky side down. Oops. Like that. It's going to go over just a teeny bit, but sticky side down. I'm just going to give it a teeny bit of space. That way I know it's covered with this. Even though the whole thing won't have it, most of it will have it. I'm going to get just one more little teeny piece. I'm going to pull a piece off. Just cut a little slim. Okay. Just have a little bit more on that one edge. This is way easier to do. Shh, it's okay. It's way easier to do if you're doing it from the whole sheet. Oh, come on. There we go. Stop. Jack. Shh. Shh, shh, shh. Shh, shh, shh. Okay, so I have that. And get your baby. Where's your baby? Get your baby. Hey, stop. So I'm going to put this, and I'm just going to make sure that I cover this side here. So I'm going to kind of stick to this upper part. Jack, get down. Give me 1 sec. Down, or you have to go in the other room. Here. Lay down. Here. Lay down. Lay down. And when you cut this, you're going to flip it this way, like that. So I'm going to, again, I'm just changing, so my non-cutting plate's on the bottom, my cutting plate's on the top, and I'm going to roll it through this way, face up, but I am going to go back and forth. So you can see all those edges are really, really cut, okay? And most likely, let's see if we pull it out correctly, it should completely peel away from this, yeah, which is how you're gonna know that it's cut better. Only thing is, you have these couple little teeny pieces in here that didn't cut for the edge part. So I'm gonna just rip this because I kind of put it a little bit close to the edge. So it's not ripping the die, but this little edge piece here didn't cut. That's just the way I put it through. So there is that part. Then you can use the rest of this for something else. So I typically do save it. But it did catch the pieces in here. But when we pull the rest of it off, it'll still stick to the adhesive sheet. So that's kind of like a nice win-win as well. So last, what I'm going to do, and I think just because we have the gold, I want to do this in something that's really going to be noticeable. And I do still need this. That's why I have it out. So I'm going to do it in black. And I'm going to do it, I normally would go with my VersaFine, but since I'm going to die cut it quickly, Jack, no. Since I'm going to die cut it quickly, I know it will smudge. So I'm just going to do it in regular Memento. Okay. And I'm just going to, again, make sure this kind of looks straight for the most part. And tape it down. And then just die cut this, and we'll be in business. Okay. Just like so. And put that on the side. Okay, now we're just going to pop this together and we'll be done. So here's all our pieces. Same thing again, if you wanted to. No. You could totally add ribbon or something else to this. Just give me 1 quick second. Sorry about that. He's eating Christian stuff. I had to draw the line. So you could add ribbon if you wanted to, but I think that this is kind of enough. I don't really want to do too much. The only thing I am going to do, though, is I'm going to take my polished pink and just go around the white. I'm not quite sure why. I can never just let white stand out, but it kind of feels like it needs something. And the other thing that I really like about these dies, in case you haven't seen them in person, they really give a nice edging to your die. It's kind of almost like a beveled edge. So it's really pretty and kind of fancy just for like a little die, which is kind of cute. So, all right, so we have those. And I'm going to do the same thing again where I add the liquid glue. Just because when I lined the other one up, it was a little bit weird. I felt like I was going to not line it up correctly. So I just have my die cut piece. Put that there, kind of see, looks like it's straight for the most part. Now, the one thing with foil, though, it does take a minute for the glue, especially if it's liquid glue, to adhere. So be careful, because if you like slightly skew it, it won't go back. So there's that. And then I'm going to put this piece flat down. And press. And this almost looks like it might be just a teeny bit overhang. So if it is, I might go back with my scissors and just trim it just ever so slightly. But same thing again, I just want to make sure this is really nice and tight. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to peel the back off of here. So same thing again, I do have 3 pieces. So I'm just pulling this off. You can see the gold that came with it. Should be the same for this little piece over here, because I can see it's got some stuff stuck. Here's one little piece that missed. And one more over here. Couple. This one is a little bit tinier of a die cut, and I think when I did my first one, I probably passed it through 2 times regular and then 1 side upside down, but it's still working out okay. So I have a little bit of stuff stuck. Let me move these over so they don't end up stuck onto the card. And then we'll put this. I kind of like it off-centered. But I also like the fact that if you put that adhesive sheet all the way to the edge, it totally glues the fancy part down, so you know you won't accidentally rip it up. And then just because it's a little hard to get in, I'm just going to press it with my bone folder, which will really ensure that it's stuck. So, really pretty. This paper, I'm going to take off this. I'm going to save these little pieces, but this paper is really, really pretty. It has such just the little touches, because it's not really a lot of gold on there, quite honestly. It's not. It's really just little, it's like veining in marble. It's very, very pretty. I really, really like it. Okay, so that one we finished up with Inspired Thoughts, just in case you lost track of that with all the dog nonsense. Second one here was Color and Contour, and again, remember we changed. I'm just gonna show you, just in case. We did change at the last minute from Pale Papaya. So what you could have done with this is backed it onto the Blackberry Bliss instead of the black, and then done the Pale Papaya. So I'll put that there just so you can kind of see what the original plan was and how we digressed from that. So that's another one there. And then the first one we used After the Storm for that sentiment, which was super, super pretty. So there's one other thing I wanted to tell you, and I don't know how well this would work, but just for the heck of it, because I have a couple minutes, I'm going to try. So this may not cut as well as I think it's going to. I'm actually going to take just a minute and just push these 3 things through, because if your die is cleaner, it definitely will cut nicer. But I'm not sure if it will or won't work, so that's why I'm kind of dying of curiosity here. Okay, so I want to show you something really quickly. I have just a little scrap of watercolor paper, and I'm going to die cut this. So this is going to take several passes to get it to cut, because watercolor paper is a little bit thicker, but I'm going to show you why in a minute. So I'm going to try. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it face up. So I'm going to tape this. That way I can ensure that it doesn't move. So I'm just taping the other side. And I'm going to run this back and forth 4 times. Okay, so you can see right now there's nothing. So I'm going to run it through. It actually cut it the first time surprisingly better. That's 3 times and then 1 more. The first cut was actually pretty good considering. So here we go. And I'm not sure if all of it did go through. That's why I want to see before I pull it off. Okay, so there's the die cut. And it does look like most everything went through, just for the sake of just because I'm going to run it through once more. I'm actually going to turn it this way. I'm going to run it through once more upside down. And I did bring my cup of water, so hang on one second. I'm going to pull this off. Push this through. And you can actually see how well it die cut because all of the paper is stuck in here. And everything came out of here, which is neat. So here is what I wanted to share with this. Do have to vacuum later, so. All right, let me move these over really quickly because I'm going to need to grab one other thing just so I don't ruin these cards. There's my other die. Okay. So I'm going to slide these over just for a minute. I'm like the one last thing stamper. That's what I should call myself instead of Rach the Stamper. One more thing, one more thing, one more thing. So I have my aqua painter or water painter, whatever the heck you call it. And I do throw my paper towel away, but I have microfiber cloth. So I'm going to wet this just a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to grab, what color was it I wanted to use? I was trying to think. I thought one of them would be really, really pretty. I'm going to grab polished pink and just jade. Oh, this one doesn't have a puddle. Hold on. Just jade. Okay. Swap my plates. I forgot. So thanks for that. Too late. I'm going to just put a little bit of water over here. And I don't really want to do the ends because I don't want the edges, but I want to do the center. All right, so I'm going to grab a little bit of just jade. I think that's what I picked. Yep, just jade. Here's one. And you can see, and I don't know if you can or can't see, so I want to show you this. Hold on one sec. It has, because there's water here, it has crept all the way to the other end. And there's a little bit of spot in the center where there's no water, which is probably really hard to see on camera, but I promise you it's there. I'm going to clean this off. And I'm going to go into my pink. Ooh, that's muddy. Hold on. That was not good. Green and pink together. Might have to let that dry just a smidge. So granted, you would have to let this dry before you used it for anything. Hold on one second, I just want to make sure this is clean. I want to go back and add just a little bit more of the jade. But you could use this as your sentiment backer. Even if you wanted to add just like a little something in. And you certainly could watercolor the entire thing back here. Just remember, it's definitely going to take some time to dry, but it could be really, really pretty with your color. Kind of looks like watermelon. Right, okay, so. All right, so I'm gonna show you one other thing. So you're doing this and you finished it. I'll close this. And then you're wanting to dry it. One thing, you don't wanna dry it on your silicone mat because it will make it a little bit wonky. I'm actually gonna pick it up and I'm gonna wipe this, oops, just a little bit. Which, that's clean, so that's awesome. That's the great part. If you don't have a silicone mat, they are really, really very, very useful for adhesive and for coloring. And I'm going to dry this. You can see it still will move the water with your blowing, which you can kind of manipulate where the color goes. Oops. And I promise you, there is a thing I'm going to show you to this, so hang in there. Because this could be something you could use for one of your other colors. Right? So there's that. Just going to make sure it's mostly flat. Now, one thing about this, it doesn't stamp 100% smooth because it's very toothy. So I'm going to use the VersaFine for this specifically. But let me just see if we can grab one that's kind of somewhat goes with. All right. And I know it's a little crooked, but then you could just add your sentiment. And then you have a custom colored, because we colored it with watercolor paper. You can always, now granted with the VersaFine, you absolutely do not want to do this right now because it will totally make it bleed. But you could even go back with your damp water painter, and you could pick up a little bit of dark if you wanted a little bit more dark to a certain couple spots. You could add some dark. Just a teeny bit of water will soften it a little bit if you wanted to add some. And then, so you would do this once it's dry. So I'm just giving you just a couple things to try if you're kind of like, I like it, but I feel like it needs a little bit more. And you can see right here where I got some green, so I'm going to pick that up, wipe that off. Same thing over here. You could add a little bit more of the lipstick, which the lipstick is kind of a really nice watermelon-y color now that I look at it. Strawberries you could probably use it for. Just a little bit if you wanted a little bit more to the edge of the pink, kind of to bring that pink in once it's dry, because you can add layers to it. So there's lots of stuff you can do with watercoloring with layers. You just have to wait for it to dry in between. And then again, the one thing about the VersaFine, because this is watercolor paper, it probably absorbed into it a little bit more versus the sitting on top that you typically get when you're using regular cardstock. So it could potentially be just slightly drier, but it's probably still not dry enough. But anyway, that was just one other little sample to show you with this one. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself today. This has been a super fun and very spontaneous week of the alcohol markers with alcohol onto the vellum, which was really fun. I have never ever tried that before, so I thought this was a super fun week to do that. I saw some videos and knew that I had some time, that Christian wasn't going to be here, so I didn't have to worry about him being bored or watching his iPad or whatever the case may be. So I think these turned out really cool. I am not sure which day I'm going to try to commit to over the summer. I really don't want to say that I'm going to pick a day and then disappoint anybody. So I am going to try, though, to be live in the mornings again. So it'll be during the week. I will do the same thing where I'll say, like, I'll be live on such and such date, so stay tuned, or whatever the case may be, or tomorrow, just depending on how soon of notice I'm able to give. So I do appreciate all of you watching. If you have anything else that you have a question about, or something that you didn't feel like it was fully explained, please reach out and let me know, because I am happy to go back and look at some stuff and make some more videos, or focus on some stuff for the next time that I go live. And again, I will let you know, I also may be going live on YouTube, so if you don't already follow me there, make sure you follow me there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can also find me over on Facebook. So remember, I do both between two. I usually will take all of my Facebook Lives to YouTube, but I don't bring my YouTube stuff to Facebook. So if you are following me on YouTube, you will see stuff that I don't post on Facebook if it is a live from there. Thank you guys very much for the ideas, the inspiration, the questions, and everything else. I hope you have a super wonderful weekend, and I will see you sometime next week. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.